intentionally in our shared life together. The first one is talking about power. We believe that healthy power in one's life is a fundamental human need. If you think back to our very first core assumption, we stated that the core self is good, wise, and powerful. Personal power directed by the core self is a form of healthy power. It doesn't operate at the expense of someone else. The way power typically operates in our society, however, has caused a great deal of harm because our society is structured in hierarchies. A person with more power is assumed to be more worthy as a human being and is treated accordingly. These one-up, one-down structures operate in our homes, our schools, our faith communities, our social services, workplaces, and government. Issues of power permeate human interactions in our personal community and public parts of our life. Though these power dynamics profoundly shape our interactions, they frequently, typically, go unexamined. In schools, as in all communities, there's also a need for order. Teachers and adults in general possess authority, and that authority is a form of power, and it's used to direct the behavior of children in the interest of the larger community. For children, learning to respect legitimate authority and cooperate with it is a basic task of growing into healthy adulthood. But there's a paradox that comes with the power of authority. If individuals feel that authority is legitimate and fair, they'll accept it and respect that power. When they feel it's unjustified, they'll resent it and typically resist it. The paradox is that in order for authority to be seen as legitimate, it's necessary that the individual feel that their own personal power is still respected by those in authority. Under conditions of respectful and trusting relationships, adults have enormous influence over the behavior of young people who have a deep desire to remain and to be in positive relationship with important people in their lives. The more adults cultivate a foundation of good relationship with young people, the more adult authority will be respected. Paradoxically, the less adults use power to control the behavior of young people, the greater is their influence to shape that behavior through the cultivation of a healthy respect for authority. The circle process, the conference process, and all restorative practices help individuals and the group experience healthy power in the presence of each other. In the circle, each person has a voice, each person is valued, and no one is more important than anyone else. It is an experience of healthy personal power or power with when people are experiencing restorative practices. Okay?
Another concept that we thought is really important to think about is the idea of justice. All human beings have a strong, innate sense of justice. Justice is not something that's defined by law. Human beings view and experience every relationship in their lives as either just or unjust, and every interaction in their lives as just or unjust. In schools, youth often perceive their relationship with adults to be unjust when adults exercise their power in ways that do not respect the personal power of youth. Young people respect the authority of adults who in turn are respectful of their personal power to exercise meaningful choices. In any community, when someone treats another person unjustly, there's a need to restore the sense of justice by having an individual participate in a process that acknowledges the wrong and makes repair through sincere apologies and meaningful reparations. The direct participation of the individuals who feel unjustly treated and those responsible for harming others is essential in repairing the positive relationships between these members of the community so that the future relationships are no longer tainted by a continuing sense of injustice. We also felt it was very important for educators to pay attention to and think about the question of belonging. That need for belonging is not just a result of our socialization. It is deeply imprinted in our genetic makeup. The need to belong is so central to our sense of self that we will do whatever is necessary to meet that need, including violating our values and disconnecting from the core self. If we cannot meet the need for belonging in healthy ways, we will resort to unhealthy ones. For better or for worse, schools are communities where students experience either belonging or not belonging to that community. It is important for schools to nurture a sense of belonging in every student. The pain and fear of not belonging is at the root of much violence and harm in our schools. Living together as if everyone belongs might be the biggest violence prevention measure we could ever devise. The use of restorative practices helps us to live as if everyone belongs. Restorative practices offer a way to create and continually enhance that sense of belonging. Carolyn?
So lastly and finally, we felt we needed to talk about joy. As human beings, we are born with the capacity to experience joy. Every baby, regardless of cultural origins, responds with wriggling delight to a smiling face. This universal reaction reflects an inborn human capacity for joy. Joy is a powerful positive emotion. It increases our capacity to think and speak clearly. Mental work is more effective if it's done with joy. Joy is an antidote to stress. The ability to access joy even in difficult circumstances is a quality of resilience. Holistically, our mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being is enhanced by joy. If we bring joy into our classrooms, we influence others to be more joyful. All of us, children and adults, are better able to learn, teach, and grow when we experience a sense of joyous well-being within our environment. Cultivating joy is a practice, one that is self-reinforcing as it grows, but it initially requires intentional choice and energy. The circle and other restorative practices are spaces where we connect with a joyous appreciation of ourself and others. Circles are one way to consciously cultivate a joyous school environment. I want to share then, as the words of the Sufi poet Rumi reminds us of this capacity for joy when he writes, "Keep knocking, and the joy inside will eventually open a window and look out to see who's there."
Thank you, Carolyn.
You're welcome.
Just a note here that there are a couple more. The second practice suggestion addresses thinking about that question of power, noticing how power operates in your own life. Where are you the person with more power in a relationship? Where are you the person with less power in a relationship? Just inviting you to maybe pick a day and notice throughout that day how power operates, and especially where it might operate unconsciously. Those are the places that we have to really be paying attention to. And there is a third suggestion for practice following the session that is very much about how all of these ideas that we've been talking about run around inside you. What's going on inside as you work to live your core assumptions around the vision of restorative justice. And just want to note that these are just suggestions if they're helpful to you, and if you find that it would be useful to adapt those in some way, then we invite you to do that. Okay, Molly, I think we're ready to open.
Yeah, I think we'd love to open it up to your comments and thoughts and questions.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, our host, Molly, got kicked out of the system and can't get back in. So my name is Matthew Albrecht. I know many of you, and some I don't. I work with the Peace Alliance. So I'm going to take over from here until Molly can get back in. And so anybody who would like to ask questions of Carolyn and Kay, thank you both, by the way. It's been really informative and fascinating, and a lot of kind of the foundation, it seems like, of what people who want to get into this work will be really needing to hold and learn, and probably throughout this course. Would you say that it's just kind of a foundational piece of this big puzzle of these restorative processes, or is that?
That was our intention.
Yes.
That as the first session, it makes sense for us to talk about, the foundational principles and values and ideas that inspire people, that staying in touch with these feeds us energy when things are discouraging. And so it's not just a sort of an abstract thing. It actually, I think, has a very practical implication in the work that I need to keep going back to these because they are the source of energy for me when it's tiring or discouraging.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you, thank you. So let me just say a couple things. First of all, anybody who wants to ask a question and have a conversation, you can press the 1 key on your phone, and we'll go through and call on you. And just a reminder, in general, we have the screen share tool. We have the web page with all of these resources, and the resources that you all are mentioning tonight and others, we'll make sure and post all of those resources onto that web page so that people can learn more and go deeper. And Carolyn and Kay, if there's anything, as you're thinking about this overnight or even during the coming weeks, let us know, and we'll keep posting stuff on there that folks might find useful. But let's go ahead and open up the lines here. So again, you can push 1 on your keypad, and we will open up the lines for you. Let's start with Sandra. Hi, Sandra.
Hi, I'm calling from Wisconsin. I love everything that you're presenting. I've been a student of Marshall Rosenberg, and as a consultant after leaving teaching at a multiple intelligence school, which was the only one of its kind in our state back in the early 90s. Been traveling nationally, working with tribal schools, and more recently doing substitute teaching in between my consults here in the Milwaukee area, about 7 districts. And what I have encountered in all of the districts is about 85% of the students are miserable, unhappy, depressed, because, and many of them tell me, we love to learn, but school was not about learning. It's about prescribed information that we are told to absorb and play back on a test, and our own creative inquiry is not engaged. Our co-creating our own education there's no room for that because of certain standards and expectations and curriculum requirements. So school, and I'm not exaggerating, but I would guess my guessing is about 85% of the students I've seen in 7 different districts are quite stressed, as well as their teachers, are unhappy, and I love the restorative practices. However, unless those structures open up and change, where there's power with the student in creating their own educational program, I feel sad that I think